gods. The entire country up in flames.
Ebdahi warned punishment awaited Edirn, that he would show the land no mercy.
What in God's names did you do to him, Rayla?
Nilfgaard offered us an alliance against the rest of the north, but Demoven declined, in his clipped soldier's speech. They say Ebdahi flew into a rage and swore he'd reduce Edirn to rubble.
The chase is on! Aye. Should have listened to me old lady. Hey? Ever have a storm knock out one of your teeth?
this harvest, we'll be reaping black-clad heads.
I've hit the white of an eye from half a league away. Bigger they are, easier they are to target.
The knight should help. Our codex commands it. Company! Forward march!
Nothing personal, I assure you.
Seen me, Moy. Was bound here from my confort. Supposed to have arrived 3 days past.
The Lyrians arrived at an ancient, half-desiccated beach. Its trunk sat atop a tangle of thick roots, and scraps of paper covered with tiny scribblings fluttered over it from top to bottom. Travelers crowded all around. Barefoot refugees, bony pilgrims, peddlers with armored escorts, and shifty-eyed men with the haggard look of deserters.
The Wayfarer's Beach.
Rayla said.
Travellers of all sorts swap tales here. Perhaps we can glean something about our enemy's movements.
Or paint the enemy a clear picture of our own.
Gascon interrupted.
Nilfgaardian spies no doubt flock to this tree like flies to particularly pungent dung.
Neve decided to proceed cautiously. She pitched camp in a nearby clearing and sent a scout dressed as a peddler to investigate the Wayfarer's Beach. Yet long hours passed with no sign of the soldier.
Gods be damned!
The Queen snarled.
Reynard, send some men to follow his tracks.
The Lyrians found the scout's body in the woods a few leagues from the Wayfarer's Beach. His corpse revealed clear signs of drawn-out, cruel torture. Niamh could only hope he had managed to hold something back from his captors.
You'd folk in Crumlin are trading with the Squirtle by day for all to see.
Ravens are always trailing armies. Ravens and beasts.
Soon after entering Edirn, Niamh ordered a halt. She wished to sit with Black Rayla and plan their onward march, for Rayla knew every path in the realm, including ones not drawn on any map. They were hard at work when shouts rang out among the tents.
One final time I shall say it. As your senior officer, I order you to depart the training grounds, or...
Or what? Pray tell, you'll have me drop and give you 50?
What is the meaning of this?
Your Grace, I had thought to use this interval to drill the recruits, teach them...
To walk.
to maneuver, Gascon. A world of difference. In perfect harmony must soldiers traverse the field of battle. Otherwise, they could break formation. The enemy would penetrate our lines, and our army could be slaughtered.
And therein lies the rub, dear Reynard. Army. This is no army, but a band of partisans. If we do not adapt to the rules of desperation, if we adhere instead to the Academy Codex, we shall lose. Laying traps, wiping tracks, that's what we should teach the lads. Not marching to the beat.
All my eye. A fighting force must have discipline. Otherwise, tactics and planning are impossible. A soldier must obey orders.
A point on which we all agree. And since they are mine to give, I order you both to calm yourselves at once, and never air your squabbles in front of the men again. Our resources are limited. We cannot do everything at once. Prepare your proposed plans for training the recruits, and I shall decide which we shall follow. Clear? Then get to work.
Don't you worry yourself, Your Grace. We'll get it done in no time. Pissing in the moat? Oh, you're dead.
It's gonna be a right good levy, big and beautiful. Stop your yapping and start digging.
Your Grace.
Niamh heard Reynard call out from behind her.
A scout's returned. Claims to bear an urgent message.
The Queen halted her horse and waited for the soldier to reach her. He abandoned all formalities and jumped straight to the point.
Milady, a black-clad caravan, armed to the hilt, rides this way. To believe the rumours, They're hauling a load of war loot back south.
Reynard gave the soldier new orders, then turned to Meave.
Sounds like a prime opportunity to replenish our coffers.
Indeed. An opportunity we cannot ignore.
The Queen said.
Your unit will block their path. Gascon and his men will hide in the woods and strike their flanks, while I shut the trap, attacking from behind.
Their plan established, Meave gave the signal to move out. A brief...
We must drive them into the ambush! Follow me!
There's a time to reap, a time to sow, and a time to die.
Ah!
The chase is on!
Their plan ended in success, the Nilfgaardians crushed. As soon as the dust had settled, Meave tore the canvas off the nearby wagons to see what precious loot they had so carefully guarded. She expected to find gold, jewels, or exquisite silks. Instead, she saw dirty, terrified figures bound in chains.
Slaves,
Reynard muttered.
Their precious cargo. Slaves. Behold the glorious future the Empire brings us.
Meave ordered the prisoners freed and discovered they were Edirnian peasants on their way to dig canals and dredge swamps as forced laborers.
You are free. You can return to your homes.
The Queen said. If she expected words of thanks and gratitude, she was in for a disappointment.
What homes, my lady?
Asked one of the peasants, holding back tears.
Took our land, they did. Nothing we have now. Not a rag to wear, not a crumb to eat. Leave us, we die. Soldiers don't do us in, monsters will. Us human hunger and cold don't get us first.
The Queen was about to answer when she heard Gascon, standing behind her, whisper,
Before you make any rash promises, please, some maths. Dozens of hungry mouths to feed, and weak bodies to defend, twice as many tired legs to wait for, while war rages all around. You do realise you cannot save everyone.
I attacked this caravan hoping to fill my coffers.
The Queen said.
Instead, I have only secured a new drain upon them. But very well. In these ill times, we Northerners must help our own. Women and children in the wagons. The men shall march alongside to the rear. I warn you, if you cannot keep pace, we shall leave you by the roadside. Move out!
The Queen's gaze momentarily caught the eyes of an old woman her soldiers were helping onto a wagon. Tears of gratitude poured down her soot-stained face, across hard lines left by years of destructive toil. Meave...
One week we were to harvest, yet the fields are nothing but ash. Did our oats not suit the Emperor? However did our oats and other plantings harm him?
As Meve neared Gatburg, her eyes were drawn at once to the black pennants flying over its palisades. Nilfgaard's pennants. Her scouts found the city's buildings intact, its streets unstained by blood. Black-clad soldiers could be seen guarding storehouses holding loot pillaged from nearby settlements. Curiously, these soldiers were very few in number.
The gates stand open. Clearly the Imperials expect no attack, giving us the element of surprise. We can take back the city and
make off with the gold.
Gascon finished. Meve hated Nilfgaard and needed gold to maintain her army. Two very good reasons to attack Gatburg. Her decision made, she ordered her men to prepare for battle. Now the invaders would have to try their hand at defending.
Larven! Essay to Navain!
They feel at home here, the Nilfgaardians. Let's show them they're wrong.
There's a time to reap, a time to sow, and a time to die. New orders? No? Aye. Must be an important lesson in this. But what?
No signs of fighting! These Horsens must have opened the gates for the Blacklads.
Her Majesty knows what she's doing. Oh.
Ever have a storm knock out one of your teeth?
Oh.
Praise be to the great sun!
Have it the white of an eye from half a league away.
Oh.
Bigger they are, easier they are to target.
Oh.
Of course, as you wish, master.
Scheiß! In! Zwei!
The Commissar will hear.
The battle's won, Your Majesty.
The Battle of Gatburg ended in Meve's victory, much to its inhabitants' displeasure. While she examined the Nilfgaardian storehouses, the city's mayor, an elderly gentleman with a walrus moustache, requested a private audience.
Your Grace, I am old. Kill me, you'll merely save my gout the trouble, so I'll be frank. You've but few men. You'll not spare one to defend the city. When you ride off, the Imperials will retake Gatburg, peer into their looted storehouses, and seek revenge. You will be far off, while we shall be oh so terribly near.
The old man creaked down onto his knees and gripped the hem of the Queen's coat with knobby fingers.
Your Majesty, I beg you, leave the gold, or the streets of Gatburg will flow with the blood of our women and children.
Meve contemplated what to make of the fellow. Should he be praised for his forethought and concern for his townsmen, or condemned for cowardice and insolence? Black Rayla, however, had no such doubts.
Traitors all. Small wonder the town's untouched. Must have opened the gates wide for the southern scum. Now they want us to let them fill their pockets with plundered gold.
Niamh stood before one of the chests, filled to the brim with gold. She slammed its lid shut with a bang.
The gold stays. Every coin.
She said,
In exchange, I wish you to promise when the moment arrives, when Nilfgaard is on the retreat, you will take up arms and stick them in their black-clad backs.
The old man stared for a long while into Niamh's cold eyes, then merely nodded his head in silence.
If we show them there's gold to be had, they could in turn show us mercy. If we show them there's gold to...
My spirit's willing and how, but these damn boots are killing me. There's a time to reap, a time to sow, and a time to die. Aye.
I've hit the white of an eye from half a league away.
You mad? Don't shake that!
Bigger they are, easier they are to target. Thing about slings, they hide well.
Yeah, yeah!
Nothing personal, I assure you.
This could hurt.
God's blast it! My breast chafes.
Greetings. What is it?
Gatburg opened its gates to the Black Lads. Surrendered without a fight.
Was here, just a week past. That was a mill. An inn. Out more than ashes now.
And of the people, not a trace. Not even the bodies.
One bolt I need. Give me a time.
Army's a waste of time for one like me.
Arbalista, your command.
Left, right, left, right.
Armor won't say.
Look to the high road. The earth furrowed by wheels, hooves. The Black Lads went at Rosberg with all their strength. An ominous sign.
For Nilfgaard, I'd say. The fortress boasts 2 new towers, a deeper moat, gate of wrought iron.
better listen to me, old lady. This harvest, we'll be reaping black-clad heads. My spirit's willing and how, but these damn boots are killing me.
Bigger they are, easier they are to target.
If anyone asks, you've not seen me.
Thing about slings, they hide well.
A time to reap, a time to sow, a time to die. Aye.
Hey?
You mad? Don't shake that!
Nothing personal, I assure you.
A knight should help. Our codex commands it.
happened here?
Sadly, it was Rayla who met with surprise. 100-yard gap gaped in the unbreachable walls of Rosberg. The fortress itself was aflame, spewing black smoke into the sky.
I don't... How? It can't be!
There was no time to consider her question, for Nilfgaardian scouts had spotted Meave's company. The Queen knew battle was inevitable, so she gave the signal to form a defensive line, then drew her blade.
Your Grace, Nilfgaardian fighters remain in the city.
Should have listened to me, old lady.
That was not in the spellbooks.
This artist will be reaping black-clad heads.
Bloody Horsens. They'll pay for this.
My spirit's willing and how, but these damn boots are killing me.
Yep.
Quiet, or the Commissar will hear.
Scheiß! In Trey!
Alba!
I refuse to believe it. The king could not have died here.
Very gloire!
Thing about slings, they hide well.
To thee, gloire!
Ha!
Alba!
We must trust each other.
Very gloire!
I fear not, for faith guides me.
Off to the front yet again.
Quiet, or the Commissar will hear.
The Lyrians met one note of luck in this song of woe. Rosberg had fallen, yes, but the Nilfgaardians, not expecting reinforcements from the south, had stationed only a small detachment to hold it. Meve led her men to victory and retook the fortress. Or rather, what was left of it. What they did not demolish during their assault, the Nilfgaardians burnt once inside the city. Countless charred corpses of both defenders and peasants seeking shelter from the invaders lay among the blackened ruins. Some had tried to shield their children from the fire with their own bodies. To no avail.
Gods be damned!
The Queen cried, pounding her fist against the wall. Meve was about to give the order to move on when she caught a stifled whimper coming from a pile of rubble. Her soldiers ran to the rescue, their bare hands digging through the fiery bricks.
Here! He's alive!
The man they pulled from the ruins had suffered horrible burns. His face was a stew of seared flesh and pus-filled boils, and he reeked of burnt meat. Seeing Black Rayla, the poor soul staggered to his feet and lifted a shaking hand in salute.
Engineer Lieutenant Xavier Lemons, reporting for duty.
Medic! Send for a medic!
Lemons! What the devil's happened?
I know not. The East Tower, I led the defense. Heating oil to tan Nilfgaardian hides. A catapult struck. The cauldron tipped, burst into flames. The rest, I cannot say.
The fortress fell.
Fell? Damned Scoia'tael.
What was that?
Our preparations were perfect. A month, 2 we could have lasted, but traitors were among us. Elves, dwarves, planted charges on the buttresses. An explosion shook the tower, a hole gaped in the wall. Our men threw themselves in, filling the breach.
Vermin, filthy, rotten vermin.
I know you suffer, soldier, but Queen Meve wishes to meet with your sovereign, Demavend. We must know what's become of him.
Gone, luckily. He oversaw the preparations, then returned to Aldersburg. 3 days past.
Then let us do the same. Reynard, prepare our departure.
Hold your grace. Did anyone survive? Anyone at all?
No. There were no other survivors.
How could they? An entire detachment? An entire city? The animals.
Soldier, my medics will tend to you as best they can. Then we can escort you home if...
This is my home, your grace. Rosberg. I beg you, let me join your company. Let me exact revenge.
I respect your fighting spirit, good man. But in your state...
Your grace, I can hold neither shield nor sword, but I can still fight in my own way. I'm an engineer. I build siege towers, ballistae, bridges, whatever you wish. I pray, grant me a chance.
Such pain, such ferocity resounded in Xavier's rasping, distorted voice that Meve could not refuse his plea. Once the medics had bandaged his wounds, Meve's men set out towards Aldersburg, following Demavend and the Nilfgaardians. At one point in their journey, Black Rayla rode up next to Meve. The warrior's lips were a thin line, bitten to blood.
Milady, the road to Aldersburg leads through Moulderwood, where Eldain Scoia'tael prowl. Same filth who killed my men and delivered Rosberg to the Black Butchers.
Rayla breathed deeply to steady her furious, shaking voice.
Please, milady, I ask you upon the holies, let us find them and destroy them.
Meve gave a slight nod. It seemed the road to Aldersburg would prove long and full of challenges.
A pity Willem is not with us. Were he to see what lies before our eyes, caught a whiff of the burnt bodies, perhaps he would see...
Meave's ears caught the sound of a ruckus coming from the camp.
Feet! Inglet! A pox upon you all!
It was her quartermaster hurling oaths at the peasants she had freed from the Nilfgaardian slave convoy. A few had stolen supplies under the cover of darkness and escaped into the woods. Terror and dread gripped the other freed prisoners. Meave mulled over what to do with them, and Reynard, as always, offered some advice.
'Tis high time they went off on their own, your grace. They are too great a hindrance. They slow our march, divert our soldiers from more important tasks. And now this.
Gascon was listening to their conversation. Meave shot him a questioning look.
I opposed taking them in. So, for consistency, I now oppose forcing them to leave. We made their miserable lives our responsibility, did we not? Well then, that is a burden we cannot simply shrug off.
Meave's eyes narrowed and the lines on her face sharpened. She turned to the peasants.
This is an army. We have no time for investigations and long trials. If one of my men steals, his entire regiment is punished. So it shall be with you. As you are unable to keep your kith and kin under check, you must leave. All of you. Today.
Once the peasants had packed their few belongings and separated from the column, the Lyrians marched off. They moved much more quickly, no longer having to adjust to the pace of the untrained, bedraggled refugees. But without the rustic singing and colourful farm wife banter to accompany their steps, the march seemed strangely silent.
Stop your yapping and start digging.
I smell a leak.
Meave and her companions neared the Moulderwood, a dense, ancient forest of trees whose tangled branches had witnessed the conjunction of the spheres. It was not until King Vidamont's day that a road was finally carved through the primeval thicket, significantly shortening the journey from Rossburg to Aldersburg.
Even when peace reigns, danger rules this road.
Rayla said.
Now no one dares travel it.
At the edge of the wood by the road stood an enormous willow. Its branches swept down to cover its trunk, looking for all the world like long tresses shrouding a woman's face. Meave had an ill premonition. She did not like the sickly sweet aroma wafting from this tree, nor the metallic buzzing of insect wings. She sent a scout to investigate. He drew aside the drooping branches and stumbled back. There were men bound to the tree, covered in sap oozing from gashes in its trunk. Its heavy scent had attracted swarms of insects, flies, wasps, bees and beetles. They seethed over the bound men, crawling in and out of their ears and nostrils.
Eldane welcomes us to his wood,
Rayla whispered. Neve stepped towards the tree and saw the men stuck to it were all still alive. Those the elves had caught recently writhed and howled for rescue. Those hanging longer merely followed the queen with half-crazed, bloodshot eyes. The Lyrian soldiers stood, daggers in hand, waiting to sever the ropes and free the unfortunate captives. But Neve stopped them with a firm gesture.
Stop! Most are beyond saving, and this may be a trap. Keep your distance from the tree. That is an order.
Neve's men usually carried out her orders without a moment's hesitation. This time, however, they glanced towards her, reluctance writ on their faces. Only after Reynard repeated the order did the Lyrians sheathe their arms and slowly move back towards the road. For a long time thereafter, howls from the old willow trailed them.
Hear that? Nightingales. Unmindful of war, they sing on.
Those are no birds, my lady. Just Scoia'tael scouts use animal cries to communicate. Tell the men to hold to the road, my lady. Anyone wanders in the trees, they don't come out.
As you wish, milady.
I'm a monster.
Have we not passed this way before?
Scouts say no, Your Grace. They mark the trees.
Elves could have erased the marks, or left new ones where we've yet to tread. Best to follow the sun. Only way not to lose your bearings.
Meave was riding at the head of the caravan when Black Rayla rode up and leaned towards her. She spoke in a whisper, a hand shielding her mouth.
Your Grace, I've something important to tell you. Yet you can't show anything to miss. Look straight ahead. Make no sudden moves.
Meave nodded slightly and waited for her to continue.
Scoia'tael scouts in the woods, watching us. Eldain's near here somewhere, preparing his attack.
So what do you propose?
Asked the Queen, her gaze fixed on the road ahead.
Let him catch us out in the open. We're sitting ducks. But there are ruins nearby, an elven cemetery. We can find cover behind its walls.
Meave was accustomed to discussing important decisions with all her advisors, but she knew there was no time for consultation now. She had to trust Black Rayla's advice, and so without further delay issued the appropriate orders. Meave's retinue reached the cemetery before dusk. Her soldiers knocked down the marble statuary and piled them into barricades, while scouts took up positions outside the walls to watch for the foe's approach. When the sun set, the woods exhaled the heat of the day, and a thick fog soon arose. Out of the mist stepped Reynard's scouts, bound and pushed forward by elves. One of the Scoia'tael, a sturdy elf with long hair, stood by the cemetery wall and cried,
I am Eldain. I would speak to Meave.
I am she. Speak.
Cadmil en Kedva Genvid, Rena. This place is of great import to us, the Enshe. I would tell you of its monuments, of the weeping Ensevern, carved by 3 generations of sculptors, or of the alabaster relief of King Kellad, so beautiful even the birds would gather to admire it. But I see your men have found our memorials, and, in the way of Dwan, destroyed them without a second thought. I cannot say this comes as a surprise. You've already shown the gods molded you from the basest of matter.
Get to the point, Eldain.
So I shall. As you certainly know, the necropolis is surrounded. Soon there shall be a battle. But it is unseemly to fight in a cemetery. So I ask you to come out into the open.
And surrender our tactical advantage.
I suspected a matter so impractical as respecting the dead would mean nothing to you, Dwan. So I submit one more argument. The lives of the soldiers you sent to spy. If you leave the cemetery, I shall set them free. They will fight at your side. If not, I shall kill them, here and now.
Milady, don't listen to him. He can't be trusted.
Rayla, those are good men. Fabian, Gerrit, Matthias, they've served me for a decade. They'd crawl through 7 hells for their queen. They do not deserve such a death.
I accept your conditions.
Your Grace, I beg you.
Soldiers! We march into the field!
Eldain clasped his hands in thanks. Then, in a swift, almost careless movement, slit the throat of the scout standing nearest to him.
You should have listened to Rayla, Your Grace. We elves truly cannot be trusted. Spala!
I warned you. Now we've lost the advantage.
I'm sorry, Your Grace. I take full responsibility.
There's a time to reap, a time to sow, and a time to die.
Fire! Death to humans! The chase is on!
Nay, Dwan ve camest.
Aye.
Your Grace, our soldiers. We could have spared them that death.
Stab it the white of an eye from half a league away.
Special prize, just for you, love.
Bigger they are, easier they are to tag.
peace with humans? I buy that.
Should have listened to me old lady.
Bad Fryhead!
Thing about slings, they hide well.
Jorveth will avenge us, Dwan!
None shall tread on us! Now we will see who is weak. I shall not fail!
God's blast it! My breast chafes.
After a long, bloody battle, Eldain's unit was destroyed, and Eldain himself sat at Meave's feet, defeated and dying.
To die in a cemetery. Something amusing in it, wouldn't you say?
I am surprised you are in the mood for humor.
All my tears I shed years ago. My family, killed in a massacre aimed at eradicating our race. Senseless. Utterly senseless. Reyna, we have lost. Me, my Scoia'tael, the Enshe. We shall vanish from this earth. Your grandchildren will know us in fairy tales only. I know I deceived you, but lay my bones to rest in a grave. Let me part this world with dignity. Ager Dregared.
Oh, please! How dare he? Look, he laughs, Your Grace! This dog should rot in an open field. Need I mention the willow? The many strung from it?
So be it. I shall lay you in a tomb.
Your Grace! How can you justify this? A cutthroat! A murderer!
As are you, Rayla. As am I. For centuries we fight, kill one another, shed blood for bloodshed, attack and counterattack, each act more cruel and bloody than the last. The cycle ends now. What was done I cannot undo. But I can do this. Grant a dying soul dignity.
Thank you. Vathea, Rena.
Black Rayla stormed off, shoving her way through the gathered men. Meave paid her no heed. The soldiers laid Eldain's remains in an empty crypt. The rest of the Scoia'tael they buried in a pit near the edge of the woods. The next morning, at dawn's first light, the Lyrians marched off, eager to leave the Moulderwood behind.
Oh, at last. I'd begun to think this wood had no end.
And I thought bandits knew their way round a wood.
We do. Around those not brimming with elves armed to teeth.
The burning fields and orchards spewed thick black smoke, turning day into darkest night. Riding in the middle of her caravan, Meve could see neither its head nor its rear. Reynard ordered the men to keep formation and march in silence.
Eyes open, fore and aft. The foe might well use these conditions to spring a trap.
When a scout's shrill horn cut through the silence, Meve immediately galloped to the front of the column. She found herself in a pile of red-hot coals that had once been peasants' huts.
What the devil happened here?
Bodies lay amid the ashes, barefoot men in nightshirts as if caught in their sleep. Meve deemed them yet more victims of the black-clad invaders, but Gascon had another interpretation.
Look at the arrows. Imperial issue? Not hardly. Nor are they the type the Scoia'tael favour. And the tracks in the mud, the attackers fought not in formation, but man to man. Bandits. It must have been.
Reynard, standing next to him, nodded in agreement.
Gascon can be relied on here. After all, he knows of what he speaks.
An uncomfortable silence fell over the group, ending only when Meve ordered the scouts to determine the direction of the bandits' tracks. They returned to report the killers were hiding somewhere to the north.
I'm going no further, and I'd advise you to do the same. Bandits took the fort to the north.
Another dead end. How the demons do I get out of here? How do I quit this place for good?
The scouts reported the bandits who attacked the village that night now occupied a fort the Aedirnians had hastily abandoned during their retreat.
They'll have crossbows, arbalists, ballistae. The bandits are armed to the teeth.
What's more, according to the local folk, they had a witch among them. In light of these reports, Meve's advisors debated whether it was worth risking a fight with the brigands.
Let's call it as it is.
Gascon said.
The game's not worth the candle.
Game?
Rayla said, struggling to swallow her anger.
They slaughtered an entire village. We cannot let them get away.
The stage seemed set for a long debate, when Meve pounded her fist on the table.
I am a queen, for God's sakes. I shall not cower before common rogues, even if the entire conclave of mages stands with them. Reynard, have the men prepare their arms.
Reynard saluted and left the tent. If one had seen him then, he would have sworn the grizzled soldier smiled to himself, beaming with pride in his ruler.
Nilfgaard!
Surrender while you can!
There's a time to reap, a time to sow, and a time to die.
Your Grace, I saw flashes of light inside the fort.
Aye. Should have listened to me, old lady.
must find a gap in the fortifications.
I've hit the white of an eye from half a league away.
Watch your heads!
Bigger they are, easier they are to target.
You can try to win them all, but you won't.
Got any victuals? Hungry like a wolf, I am.
Did you hear that? A kind of incantation.
Something's not right. They should be dead with those wounds.
Thing about slings, they hide well.
Can't take it anymore.
You can try to win them all, but you won't.
Got any victuals? Hungry like a wolf, I am.
The fort is ours, Your Grace.
They battled long and hard to take the fort. Meve could have sworn she saw bandits stalking its ramparts. Bandits who moments before had taken a bolt to the head. By all rights, a mortal wound.
What the devil is going on here?
She swore as she took cover behind her shield. The secret was unraveled only after the battle's conclusion. Meve's soldiers dragged before her a grey-haired woman in colored robes. The aura radiating from her left no doubt. They had fought a sorceress. It was her healing spells that enabled the bandits to hold off their attack for so long.
What is your name, sorceress?
Ishbel of Tretagor.
I take it you did not keep company with bandits willingly?
Not at all. They kidnapped me and forced me to aid them.
Forced? I do not understand. As a woman fluent in the arcana of magic, you could have freed yourself with little effort.
True, I could have. But I would have had to kill, and I swore never to use my talents to harm another.
Not even in self-defense?
Not even then.
Then you live in truly unfortunate times. War rages all around. You cannot hide from it.
So be it. Then I must entrust myself to the care of the gods.
Or a passing queen.
You stand before Meve, by divine right ruler of Lyria and Rivia. We seek the lord of these lands, Demavend.
Oh, forgive me for not recognizing you, Your Grace. You do not look like a ruler. More like a mercenary.
Nor do you look like a sorceress.
True, milady. Forgive me. I meant no offense.
I accept your apology, and would gladly welcome you into our ranks. Truth be told, a skilled worker of magic would prove most useful to us.
Thank you, my lady. But you must know, an army is no place for me.
Should you wish it not, you needn't fight. We have many civilians among our ranks
who do their part in the slaughter. Indirect guilt is enough.
My soldiers do not slaughter, they fight.
Lofty words, but the result is the same. Piles of corpses.
Well, a bandit I am not. I shall not force you. Reynard, prepare the men to march on.
Of course. but if I may, perhaps Xavier might have a look at the war machines we captured. He may find some parts of use.
Neve followed Reynard's suggestion. Xavier went to work.
Yes, Your Grace.
Gods. What happened to him?
He was in Rosberg when the stronghold fell. Nearly burned alive.
How are you healing him?
The medics recommended regular poultices of dog's tallow, but whether they've any effect...
Of course they've no effect. For such wounds. How he must suffer.
In the day he reveals nothing. But at night one awakes to hear him sob with pain. You see? I need healers.
I shall go with you. But never shall I use magic to take a life. Do I make myself clear?
Yes, you have put it quite plain, and rather bluntly.
Forgive me, Your Grace. It has been long since I played the host. I forget the custom.
Your spells mean more to me than your manners. Welcome to our ranks, Isbel.
Isbel sat in one of their wagons and shut her tired eyes. Her long grey hair seemed to flutter ever so slightly, though there was neither wind nor breeze.
The ruins still smoulder. Nilfgaard passed not long afore. They must be close.
No doubt they already knock at Aldersberg's gate. We must make haste.
Brave warriors. Fled so fast, didn't manage to pack. Beautiful.
One bullet's all I need. Give me a time.
Gonna need 3 buckets of nails and a tub full of pegs.
Neve shook her head in disbelief as she surveyed the landscape before her. The Nilfgaardians had destroyed everything in their path. Burned farms, trampled fields, leveled orchards.
The bastards!
She hissed.
They mean to cause a famine.
When the Lyrians reached Braithwaite, a small village near Aldersberg, they saw gaunt men and women, more bone than flesh, gnawing on acorns and... Invaders had requisitioned every scrap of the village's food stores and hauled it off to their nearby camp. In strained voices, the villagers begged the Queen to help them retrieve their supplies.
Milady, Frost'll come before we know it. Felt help us. Why not a soul will live to see the thaw?
Neve looked around at the blackened, scorched village. at the walking skeletons who dwelled in it. The suffocating smoke bellowing up from the fields sent tears streaming down her face.
I'll do what I can,
was all she said. She knew this was not the time for a rousing speech.
Milady!
The Lyrians reached the outer defenses of the camp where the Nilfgaardians had taken Braithwaite's food stores. Rayla delivered her report.
3 heavy infantry regiments, Nazari arbalists,
The warrior said.
and I heard name, so they've cavalry as well.
Meve said nothing, working it over in her head. The fate of the starving villagers weighed on her heart. But was it worth risking heavy losses to aid them?
The Nilfgaardians keep food in storage and watch it rot while peasants perish from hunger. Will we allow this?
The Queen said, addressing her soldiers. Cried the soldiers.
I didn't think so.
Meve said with a smile as she drew her weapon.
Lyrians, attack! Today our swords shall taste imperial blood!
Ha! Must be an important lesson in this. But what?
Should have listened to me old lady.
101, 102, 103.
This harvest will be reaping black-clad heads.
Have it the white of an eye from half a league away.
Alba! The chase is on! Ah.
Gloire!
Order will triumph! It must triumph!
Bigger they are, easier they are to target.
Ah. Yes.
I fear not, for faith guides me.
Excellent Zweifel!
Ah. Elherzer.
Nothing personal, I assure you.
Meve managed to rout the Nilfgaardian troops and regain the stolen supplies. However, the Queen's good humor faded soon after the battle. Her soldiers began loudly demanding she not return to the village, but keep the food for her troops.
We've nigh empty bellies too, my lady. And whatever we give them, the black-clad bastards will just steal right back. Better to strengthen our own army than the enemy's.
Easy it would have been to take offense at the soldier's words, to accuse him of greed. But his words held much merit. Meve's army had no less need for the food than the peasants. and in war-ravaged Edirn there were few chances to replenish their supplies. After a moment's hesitation, the Queen announced her decision.
We shall divide the food. Half we return to the peasants, half we keep for ourselves.
At first, the peasants were glad to see the soldiers. But their joy quickly turned to anger when they found Meve had decided to return only half the recovered supplies.
And for the Queen to stoop so low! So low! Robbing good folk! Starving good folk! Ugh!
Meve refused to argue with the villagers. Yes, justice was on their side. But in times of war, justice counts for little.
A thief who takes half your coin is just as much a thief as one who takes it all. Remember these words well.